All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 118 of Sports Hype. A lot to get through today and a little bit of time. So we'll start with the recap of our favorite teams' games from this past week. I know I have a lot to say about the embarrassing loss the Cowboys took to the hands of the Lions. I'm sure Gio is a very happy Steelers fan over there, and we'll probably get his thoughts about them potentially switching to Russell Wilson as quarterback this week as well, as Mike Tomlin has been taking a lot of flack for that. But I know Gio is a Russell Wilson supporter, so we'll see his thoughts on that situation. We'll also go over the Jets firing their head coach Robert Saleh and naming their defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich as the interim head coach for the rest of the year. We'll go over whether or not we think this was the right move by the Jets or if they should have stuck it out with Saleh. A lot of quarterback benchings going on throughout the league as well. The Patriots benched Jacoby Brissett and started Drake May instead, trying to develop Drake May farther instead of letting him sit behind Jacoby Brissett, who wasn't really doing much for them. So we'll share our thoughts on whether or not that was the right move by the Patriots. The Raiders benched Gardner Minshew for Aiden O'Connell. We'll go over whether or not this was the right move by the Raiders. And then the Eagles released linebacker Devin White after signing him to a one-year deal this past offseason. He didn't end up playing a single snap for them all season. So we'll go through what went wrong with White and the Eagles and whether or not someone else should pick up White and who would be the best fit. We'll also go over the Raiders defensive tackle Christian Wilkins undergoing surgery to repair a Jones fracture in his foot. He is out indefinitely and will head to IR, so we'll go over what that injury means for the Raiders. And then, unfortunately, another injury for the Cowboys happened 2 weeks ago against the Steelers in their last win. The Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Kneeland suffered a partially torn meniscus against the Steelers. It will require a meniscus trim and a possible IR stint as he is expected to miss multiple weeks. So we'll go through what that specific injury means for the Cowboys as their defense is already decimated as is. And then the Texans placed wide receiver Nico Collins on IR due to a hamstring injury. So he will miss a minimum of 4 games, and we'll provide our feedback on what that injury means for the Texans. And the Saints quarterback Derek Carr is expected to miss at least the next 2 games with a tear in his oblique. His rookie quarterback, Spencer Rattler, did take over in his stead the past 2 games. They already played those 2 games, so we'll go over what the injury meant for the Saints and what it means farther if Derek Carr has to miss more time. And then, unfortunately, in the blowout win this past week against the Cowboys, Lions star defensive end Aiden Hutchinson suffered a broken tibia in the win. He is now out for the season, so we'll provide our feedback on what that injury means for the Lions, as he was a big part of their team. A lot of blockbuster trades happened this past Tuesday. Mainly, the Raiders trading Davante Adams to the Jets to give his old running mate Aaron Rodgers a familiar weapon for a third-round pick that can turn into a second-round pick with performance incentives. So we'll go through what this trade does mainly for the Jets, but also for the Raiders as well. And then the Browns traded Amari Cooper and a 2025 sixth-round pick for a 2025 third-round pick and a 2026 seventh-round pick. Cooper got traded to the Bills, so we'll share our thoughts on what that trade does for Buffalo. And then to get to the NBA, if we have time, Magic center Wendell Carter Jr. agreed on a 3-year, $59 million contract extension. Carter secured $82 million in this new deal that ties him to Orlando through the 2028 through 29 season. So we'll share our thoughts on this move by the Magic. Terrence Mann and the Clippers agreed on a 3-year, $47 million contract extension. So that ties him to the team through the 27 through 28 season. So we'll provide our feedback on this deal for Terrence Mann as well as the Clippers. And then to wrap it up, Mavs guard Dante Exum already got hurt. Unfortunately, he's expected to miss 3 months after undergoing wrist surgery. So we'll go over what that injury means for the Mavericks. But we'll start with the Steelers win this past week. What was your thoughts on that win, Gio?
I thought it was a great bounce back win, especially where Justin Fields didn't really play to his expectations, to our expectations as Steelers fans in the previous week against the Cowboys, the injury-riddled Cowboys. You go over, and play the Raiders. Has a great week. Najee Harris had an amazing week. Love seeing him show out. I do. So we're going to talk about Russ, and I want to talk about him now here since we're talking about the Steelers. Russell Wilson this is the best move we could have done. Yeah, Justin Fields played well against the Raiders, right? But we have a second round conditional pick tied to Justin Fields. We keep playing him. Obviously, we're gonna have to give up that conditional second pick next year.
And I believe that's why the Steelers are taking flack, because fans know that and they know what they're doing.
They know exactly what they're doing. And here's the thing. Russell Wilson, he's a great quarterback. He had great numbers last year with the Broncos. He has a better O-line. He has better receivers. He has a better all-around offense to play with. There's less pressure on Russell Wilson to play good than there was with the Broncos. Fine. Let's just say he's terrible. I'd rather get rid of that conditional second-round pick. For 3 weeks, if he loses 2 weeks, 1 week, whatever the case may be, and he just looks like trash, put Justin Fields back in. There's no hard feelings. We'll lose that second round pick, but at the same time, we'll start to win again. We know who's the starting quarterback. I like what we're doing as of right now as an organization, just because we're playing chess moves and everybody else is playing checkers.
Yeah, I agree. That was a great win for the Steelers against the Raiders. Obviously, the Raiders are more in a rebuild phase right now, but still, you have to go in and play the game and win the game, and that's exactly what the Steelers did. Not only won the game, but they dominated the game, and they looked fantastic. Especially, they didn't look great against the Cowboys. I will admit that. I expected a lot more from them. Their offense did not look great against our decimated defense. I expected their offense to run all over us, and that didn't happen, which obviously I was happy about, but I expected a lot more from the Steelers against the Cowboys. So great bounce back win, like you said, but I do agree. Moving Russ to quarterback is the right move, because even Justin Fields himself said, if I played well enough, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So he knows that he didn't play well enough to keep the starting job. And like you said, if Russell Wilson, goes back to his play when he played for the first year with Denver, if he played like that, you have Justin Fields right there to throw him back in. Like, it's not like they're benching him for good. They're just seeing what they have in Russell Wilson first before moving on. It's not like Justin's bench for good. That's not the case like other fans think.
And we can be playing both quarterbacks. Here's the thing with that. Nobody will have a game plan on what we're going to do. We could throw you Russell Wilson this game. We can throw you Justin Fields this half and Russell Wilson that half. No one's going to expect what we're going to do. And that's why I think this is the better move.
Yeah, I agree. Prior to Russell Wilson hurting his quad in the offseason, I thought they would, use Russell Wilson on throwing downs and then put Justin Fields there on running downs, so the defense doesn't know whether it's going to be Justin running it or Najee running it. And I think that's what Mike Tomlin is going to do.
For sure.
So I think this is a great move by the Steelers and a great bounce back win for them against the Raiders. And we'll see what they can do this week against the Jets with Devontae this week.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult.
For sure. But, I'm trying to put this game in the back of my head, but I got to talk about it. Very, very disappointing loss for the Dallas Cowboys at home. They've been very disappointing at home all season. 44-19 to the Saints, 28-25 to the Ravens, but let's be honest, it wasn't that close. And then 47-9 against the Detroit Lions. All great teams. Well, the Saints have gone downhill, but Baltimore and Detroit are great teams. If you're a great team, you're going to have to beat the great teams, and the Dallas Cowboys haven't been able to do that, not only this year, but for the past, I'd say, 3 to 4 years, and that's why they haven't been able to contend for a Super Bowl. And until they figure out how to make this roster gel with the pieces they got, because Jerry Jones, let's face it, he's not going to make any changes. Until they figure out how to gel with the roster they have, they're not going to beat the good teams, and they're going to be a borderline 500 team all season long. It's really that simple, because that was just flat out embarrassing. Terrible performance by the offense, terrible performance by the defense. All around, just terrible. It brought me back to the playoff game from last year. It looked 10 times worse than that, though, which is even worse.
Yeah, so for you guys to be considered into the, say, Super Bowl contention the last couple of years, to have high expectations this year, even though you guys didn't make a lot of offseason moves, you guys still had high expectations because you still had CeeDee Lamb, you still had Dak Prescott, you still had the amazing defense that you once had, but now is injury riddled. It's a terrible season for you guys. It's a waste of a year on Dak Prescott. It's a waste of a year on Micah. These guys are only getting older, and teams are only getting better around you. Look at Detroit. Look at the Saints, matter of fact. I mean, yeah, the Saints were terrible. The Saints are going downhill, but they're still the Saints, and they're still going to come back next year, and they're going to get better and better, right? I mean, look at what Carr has done.
You can just look at the trades where, the Jets have been struggling, but they're making moves to make their team better. That's the difference between a struggling Jets team and a struggling Cowboys team.
But here's the thing. Two different conferences. You look at what the heck the Saints are doing. They're getting better. You look at what the Vikings are doing, and my goodness, they just catching all their luck on Sam Darnold because he has been balling out this year. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then you got the Atlanta Falcons, who were supposed to be in a rebuilding phase, are pretty much in Super Bowl contention as of right now with Kirk Cousins, right? You always have the 49ers. You always have the Eagles. You always have obviously Detroit now, right? You have the Seattle Seahawks, who are, middle tier team, right? You never know what LA is going to do when their teams are healthy or their players are healthy, right? And then you also go right ahead and look at the Giants. I know they're in the same division as you, but they are looking better. I mean, they have Malik Neighbors, who's a superstar in the making.
The Commanders are looking a lot better as well.
If you look at Daniels and the way they're playing, they're one or two pieces away from being above a middle tier team. And here's the Cowboys sitting in dead last, pretty much in the NFC for me, because they have done nothing. They have made zero moves. They have not moved any players in the trade market as of right now to try to help Dak Prescott out, to try to help CeeDee Lamb out. And it's just right now, you guys are like sitting ducks.
And that's why I've said and will continue to say the Cowboys will go nowhere as long as Jerry Jones is the owner. I'm sure you saw that quote where they asked him, do you believe in the roster that you have right now, as of right now, or do you think you have to make moves? He said, no, I believe in the roster we have now. They said, why? He said, I do. They said, okay, but why? He said, I just do. What do you mean? Like that gives me nothing. Like how can you believe in the roster when you've seen what it puts on the field? How can you believe in it?
Well, here's the thing. If you can't put a reason, you can't be like, okay, I believe in our quarterback, Dak Prescott, to make the moves. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Fine. Give us something about Dak Prescott. Give us something about CeeDee Lamb. Might as well give us something about Micah when he comes back. Be like, hey, our defense is injury riddled right now. If our defense is healthy, it's a top 5 defense, if not the best defense in the league. That's why I believe in this team. So once we're fully healthy, I truly believe in this team. That's why this is the roster that I love. Don't just give us a flat-out answer of just because I believe. Give us a reason behind it. Give us whether it's Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, or that defense. And if you can give us one of those things, fine. But until then, you're just going to look like you're not knowing what you're talking about, right? And why are you a leader of this team if you don't know what you're talking about?
He's not a leader. I mean, even the radio host tried to ask him about the lack of moves he made in the offseason, and he shot them down. He said, it's not your job to ask these questions. I could find someone else to ask questions. Actually, Jerry, it actually is their job to ask those questions. You pay them to ask those questions. So what are you talking about? Like, I'm just sick of the old man. Like, he's too old school for today's NFL. You can't win in today's NFL without spending or without trading. And for some reason, he thinks you can.
And he doesn't even draft well.
It's not him who's drafting. It's Will McClay. Let's be honest.
But at the same time, if he's the owner of the team, find someone who knows how to draft well. If you really wanted to win, you would have paid Bill Belichick. You would have paid Bill Belichick to be your general manager and your head coach.
I mean, the one thing we do well is draft, but it's not him. It's Will McClay, who is our VP, like player personnel. He knows what he's talking about.
But here's the thing: if you still have him, fine. But if you brought in Bill Belichick to make every move, to let him have all the reins, there'd be no question right now. You guys would be sitting at, if not the top team in the NFC, it'd be top 3.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we should have, like I said in the offseason, we should have let McCarthy go and either promoted Dan Quinn or got one of the bona fide head coaches that were hired this past offseason. But I don't know, man. It's just, like I said, we're not going to go anywhere as long as Jerry Jones is the owner, which unfortunately looks like it's going to be a very long time. But Speaking of head coaches, the Jets fired head coach Robert Saleh and named defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich as their interim head coach. He is also still calling the defensive plays while head coaching the entire team. So a lot going on for Jeff Ulbrich. Do you think that was the right move by the Jets, Gio?
Yeah, especially since I know what they did afterwards. I mean, let's talk about both of them at the same time. Let's kill two birds with one stone. You get a new head coach. You trade for Devontae Adams. It is a restart of your season. I don't care if you're 2-4. It is 0-0 right now. You have the ability to win every single game leading forward, right? You have a top 5 defense. Now, yes, I know your offensive line is not great, but you don't really need that much time if you have Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers can get that ball off to either one of his two main receivers, and Lazard or Devontae, and he's comfortable. And then don't forget, you guys, you got Wilson out there too, and you also got what's his face in the backfield as the running back.
Oh, Brees Hall.
Brees Hall. Yeah. So I mean, there's so many facets this offense can do in order to get around that major hole of that offensive line. It's just ridiculous. I believe they will still end the second best team in the AFC East.
Yeah, I can agree with that, especially with what's going on with Tua. You never know what, even if he comes back, you never know when he's going to come back, and if he comes back, how he'll play. So I do think they'll end second behind the Bills. But I honestly thought this was the wrong move at first. But after seeing the way how much better the Jets look, yes, I know they lost to Buffalo, but they look so much better with Jeff Ulbrich at head coach. I was like, oh, maybe they did make the right moves. Like, yeah, they still lost, and yeah, they still have things to clean up. But Jeff Ulbrich looked like he knew what he was doing a lot more than Robert Saleh did when Robert Saleh was there.
Sure.
But yeah, to go to the Devontae Adams trade, I mean, I saw that and I was like, dude, Garrett Wilson on one side, Devontae on the other. You have two potentially, well, one top 10 receiver in Garrett Wilson, potentially a top 5 receiver in Devontae Adams on the same team. You double one and live with the other. That's exactly what's going to happen, and it's going to make the Jets offense that much more dangerous. Like, yeah, their defense will probably get scored on, but they can score with the best of them now, and I think they're going to turn their season around big time because of that trade.
Right, I agree.
But moving on to the Patriots benching Jacoby Brissett and starting Drake May, did you think that was the right move by the Patriots?
I also think this is a good move. I mean, all these franchises are making great moves right now. You look at what's going on. I think it was Louis Riddick who said this. I don't want to quote him on it, but I remember hearing him say before, I don't care as of right now if you're a rookie quarterback, as long as I can see you make touchdowns, I don't care how many interceptions you have right now, because that can get fixed. Drake May had 3 touchdowns in his first game, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many interceptions did he have? Like 5 or something?
He had 2 interceptions and then 1 fumble.
Right. So I don't care about that stuff. Get rid of the negatives. That can get cleaned up. If you can score in your first game like that in the NFL, 3 touchdowns, that's amazing. That's what I want to see. So I think this is the better move. He's going to develop quicker now. They're going to understand what they need to do leading forward as a franchise in order to put a team around him. And I like this move a lot if I am a New England Patriots fan.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, watching the Patriots with Jacoby Brissett under there was pretty much a death sentence for Patriots fans. I have some Patriots fans that I know, and I know they did not like watching that offense. They were very happy when Drake May was was announced to be under center, and it paid off. I mean, yeah, I know they lost, but they played a great Houston Texans team, and they put up a great fight, and they wouldn't have put up a fight with Jacoby Brissett under center. Drake May, rookies are going to make mistakes. He looked absolutely fantastic. I'm not like you said, I'm not worried about the turnovers. If you throw 3 touchdowns and not only 3 touchdowns, but 1 deep bomb that was a dot to Keyshawn Butte or Demario Douglas, I believe it was actually, you have all the perks to be a great quarterback in today's NFL. He wasn't doing anything sitting on the bench. It wasn't doing anything for him. He wasn't learning under, say Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. He was learning under Jacoby Brissett. And no knock on Jacoby Brissett. He's a good quarterback, but no rookie is going to get better by learning under a quarterback like Jacoby Brissett. So like you said, I think this was the right move by the Patriots. And I think Drake May is going to excel for the rest of the year. And hopefully it can lead to a long and successful career for him. But moving on to another quarterback being benched, the Raiders benched Gardner Minshew for Aiden O'Connell. What was your thoughts on that move?
I mean, I don't mind it. We saw what McConnell could do last year. Unfortunately, Minshew wasn't the right fit. We saw what their offense looked like with McConnell last year, and I think this is This is a good move as of right now. They always can switch it back, but I mean, it's not a bad move, but you're pretty much dealing with two subpar, if not low tier quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I personally didn't like the move just because I think Minshew is the better quarterback than O'Connell, but no quarterback is going to be put in that system and succeed because of the lack of weapons they have. It's really that simple. You can put any quarterback back there. Maybe the only quarterbacks I could think that would change that franchise because they can make weapons out of anybody is one, the GOAT Tom Brady, and then Patrick Mahomes. That's about it.
I would Josh Allen as of right now. Josh Allen's making nobody's look great.
That's very true. But outside of those three, no quarterback in there is going to be put in a system in that system and succeed. So I mean, I don't think it's going to do anything for them. I think they should have stuck with Minshew because like I said, I believe he's the better quarterback. He wasn't playing great, but he gave him better opportunities to win than O'Connell does. So I don't think it was the right move, but we'll see what happens with the Raiders moving forward. Like I said, they're in a rebuilding phase, so they're not looking to win. They're just trying to develop talent, and hopefully they can develop O'Connell and make him an average quarterback for the amount of time that they have him. But moving on to the Eagles releasing linebacker Devin White after, like I said, they signed him to a one-year deal in the offseason. He didn't play a single snap for them. So what do you think went wrong between these two?
I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes, but at the same time, I understand why they got rid of him. I mean, if you're not playing a snap, might as well just get him out of your locker room if he's, a potential cancer back there. As of right now, they're not playing the best. You never know what's going on back there. So we'll see if the team is playing better next time. Even if he didn't play a snap, maybe he just wasn't the best fit for the team, right? So that's why they probably released him, and we'll see moving forward.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I believe he just wasn't a good fit for them. They thought he'd be better than what he was. So I think that's why they signed him to the one-year deal. But once they saw him, in training camp and practice and all that, they're like, you're not the best fit that we thought you were. I'm honestly surprised they held on to him for as long as they did. But hopefully he can find a new home moving forward where he is going to be able to play on the field instead of just stand on the sidelines. Moving on to the Raiders, defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, former Dolphin, undergoing surgery to repair a Jones fracture. He is out indefinitely and will head to IR. So what do you think this means for the Raiders, Gio?
I mean, nothing can save the Raiders at this point, but at the same time, I just hope for the best recovery for this young man.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this affects them at all. I mean, if it affects anybody, it affects Max Crosby because now more attention can be given to him. So he's not going to make as much of an impact on the game. But yeah, I mean, they weren't winning with him, so I don't think they would be winning. They obviously won't win without him. So I don't think it affects him as much as people are making it out to be. He's a great player, though. So I do hope that he has a speedy recovery and can come back healthy and continue to dominate the league when he does come back.
Right.
Moving on to Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Nealand suffering a partially torn meniscus against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This will require a meniscus trim and a possible IR stint. Either way, he's expected to miss multiple weeks. So what do you think this injury means for the Cowboys, Gio?
Again, it sucks for you guys. This is another big time loss for your team. And it's just, I mean, let's just say it as it is. The season to watch. You guys aren't doing anything this season. Might as well go ahead. I would start resting, honestly, Dak Prescott, put in Trey Lance. I would also, try to limit CeeDee Lamb, although I know he wants to play, but at the same time, you got to keep your star players healthy, especially in this league. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb just signed new contracts. We can't afford any long-term injuries with those two players.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a very big injury. Because he was replacing Micah Parsons this game, and then I believe the second or third drive it was he got hurt, and obviously the backup stepped up, so good for them, good for them coming in being ready to play, but it's still a big injury because as we saw, the backups didn't do very well against the Detroit Lions, a much better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers offensively at least, and so it's just the Cowboys can't catch a break injury wise. I wouldn't say the season's a wash completely. I just think that the best is 9-8, and a first round exit, which is what we've been the past few years anyway. So I mean, we've been 12-5 in first round exits, but we're not going to get 12 wins with the roster we have this year. I've come to that conclusion. I think the most wins we get is 9, 10, maybe if we're lucky. But I mean, I wouldn't say bench Dak and bench CD yet, but if it comes to the point where we're 3-7, 3-8 in that range, and we haven't won in like 5 or 6 weeks, then it'll be like, okay, yeah, let's just sit our stars and just get as high as a draft pick as we can, so we can, maybe draft a top tier running back, top tier O line, whatever it may be that we think we need, and just go from there. But I feel like it's a little bit too early to call a season a wash completely. But if it continues down the road that it has been, then I will agree with you down the stretch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, last thing I want to say is the only reason why I think it's a wash is because Micah, Lawrence, everybody's out on defense practically.
Micah's coming back after the bye is what I know.
Again, it's just too much to come back from, especially this season. There's no way you guys win a Super Bowl. No way.
Oh, no. I mean, I've already come to that conclusion. We'll be lucky to make the playoffs. I've come to that conclusion as well. And if we do make the playoffs, we're going to be a first round exit easily.
You guys want to fight for it? Go right ahead. I will never tell a team not to fight for that spot. But At the same time, you have to be smart with your decisions. Your star players are making a lot of money right now, especially down in Dallas, because you only have 3 or 4 star players on that team. You have to keep them healthy for the seasons to come.
Right, and that's why I was saying, like, if we're down the stretch, if we haven't won a game in like 5 or 6 weeks, because our schedule is very tough. If we haven't won in, say, 4 to 5, maybe 6 weeks, then we come to the table like as a unit, like Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, all of them, and be like, okay, obviously we're not where we want to be. Maybe it's time to just, call it a year and see what we can do next year.
Right.
But moving on to the Texans placing wide receiver Nico Collins on IR due to a hamstring injury. He will miss a minimum of 4 games, and he missed his first game this past week. So what do you think this means for the Texans, Gio?
This is terrible too. I mean, Nico Collins, a great player to line up next to Tank Dell. For me, the Texans they also can't get a break, but at the same time, we're not seeing the same type of success as we saw last year with the Texans with CJ Stroud. We really need, I feel like, all the players healthy in order to see the type of success we saw last year. And they were all rising to stardom too, right? So now it's harder to either maintain that stardom or to even get better from last year, especially since they had almost a perfect season.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans haven't even been bad. I mean, they're 4-2, I believe. So, I mean, they haven't been. They haven't.
Compared
yeah, they
to
haven't.
Last year.
They have. I was going to say they haven't hit their peak, but I'd say they're pretty close.
They're close, but they're still worse than last year. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. But like you said, they look this past week. They looked very, very poor without Nico Collins. But that's because Nico Collins is CJ Stroud's safety blanket. He's the one who he looks to first. So when a quarterback doesn't have a safety blanket, it's like taking CD away from Dak Prescott. The whole offense looks discombobulated because they don't have the guy who they look to when they need it most. So I feel like that's why the Texans didn't look great and haven't looked great since Nico's injury, but I believe they're going to take it up a big notch once they have Nico Collins back.
Here's the thing. Where's Stephon Diggs? I mean, he was a wide receiver 1. He's supposed to be that guy on that team to help him out when said players get hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's nowhere to be seen.
Well, I also believe that he was playing good when Nico was in because defenses couldn't put as much pressure on Diggs. But now that Nico's out, they're focusing more on Diggs and letting Tank Dell do the work.
But still, I mean, we saw what he did when he was the only guy in Buffalo.
But I also believe that Stroud and Diggs, they can say all they want that they have chemistry, but I don't think they have the chemistry that they want to at this point yet.
No, they don't.
And until they get that chemistry, they're not going to look as good as they should.
Right.
But hopefully they can by the playoffs, because if they do that, maybe late down the season, down the stretch, the league better watch out.
Yeah, I still don't think they can beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I still don't think that the Texans, they're not beating Buffalo.
Oh, no. I mean, they did in the regular season, but let's be honest, they got a little lucky that game.
They got lucky, and are we able to go into it now?
What's up?
Able to go into it? Let's talk about Amari Cooper. I mean, my goodness, you
Yeah.
add Amari Cooper to this Buffalo Bills team where they didn't have a wide receiver one, and now they do.
And let's be honest, Amari Cooper might be the best route runner in the league, and you give that to a quarterback like Josh Allen.
And you have Coleman there. I mean, the possibilities are endless right now for this Buffalo Bills team. When they're
4-2. It's not like they're bad. Like they're 4-2 and they just got better.
That's right. And with that team that they had, with the defense, the injury, I mean, what the Buffalo Bills are doing is showing fight right now, and that's what I'm loving right now from them. They add Amari Cooper. I don't see 6 teams that are going to be making the playoffs, right? Let's just say, because there's 8 teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
6 of those 8 teams will not beat the Buffalo Bills.
Who are the 2 that you think could beat them? The Chiefs, and who else?
Chiefs. I will say the Baltimore Ravens and the Steelers are tied for me.
You think the Steelers could beat the Bills?
Only if our defense is healthy. The only reason why I'm not saying, Steelers are going to beat the Bills, our defense is never healthy when it matters most. If that's the case, then yes, Bills win. Steelers healthy, Steelers defense healthy, Steelers win that game. I give the 2 teams, though, to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I agree. I think honestly, if the Bills play like they played that AFC Championship game a few years back with Amari on the team, I think the Ravens are the best chance for a team to beat the Bills.
Right.
Because the Chiefs, let's be honest, they're winning. They're 5-0, but they've been ugly winning. The Baltimore Ravens have been dominantly winning, like winning by 7 or more each week. And I think that's why they're a little over the top, a little over the Kansas City Chiefs as of right now for me.
Right.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see who's in the AFC Championship game, because if we do get a Baltimore Buffalo game or a Baltimore Kansas City game, that's going to be a great playoff game. It'll be interesting to see who can come out on top. Moving on to the Saints quarterback, Derek Carr, missing the last 2 games. He already missed the past 2 games, as I said, with a tear in his oblique. Quarterback Spencer Rattler did start in his stead. He played decent the first half against the Bucs, I would say, but then the Bucs took over in the second half. And then last night was just terrible all around for the Saints. No weapons for Rattler. He looked absolutely lost out there. So what's your opinion on this situation for the Saints, Gio?
It sucks. I mean, what you saw from Derek Carr was kind of a resurrection in his career. We saw some great consistency out of him. But we also know throughout his whole career, he is injury riddled. I mean, he's bound to get injured one time in the season. This is that time. He had injuries with his back before. He had injuries, a plethora of other times. But right now it's with his oblique. Spencer Rattler doesn't know what he's doing out there, it looks like. And the only reason why he played well in the first half against the Bucs is because they didn't have a game plan. Second half, they had a game plan, they adjusted, and they attacked that, and that's why they dominated that second half.
Yeah, I agree. This really is really terrible for the Saints. Rattler's not a terrible quarterback. I just think last night he looked terrible because of the lack of weapons around him, all the injuries. Like I said, if you put any quarterback in a situation with the Saints that with the situation the Saints had last night, no quarterback's going to succeed in that situation outside of the top tier quarterbacks that we named earlier. So I don't think Rattler is as bad as advertised, but I think the Saints, they definitely need to look in the mirror and see if Derek Carr is the right guy, because the first 2 weeks he looked great, but then he fell off a cliff. And like you said, he's injury prone. He gets hurt, very inconsistent at quarterback. And not only do they have to look at their quarterback position, I believe they also have to look at their head coach, because I don't think he is a great coach, and I don't think they will win as long as they have Derek Carr under center or Dennis Allen at the helm as coach.
Right.
But we'll see what happens moving forward for the Saints. But unfortunately for the Lions, they did suffer a very, very devastating injury against the win against the Cowboys. Aiden Hutchinson suffered a broken tibia. He had to get immediate surgery and is ruled out for the season. So what do you think this means for the Lions, Gio?
Sucks. I mean, he was a massive part of their offense. Even, I mean, it is such a terrible injury for this to happen to this young kid who was playing fantastic throughout his career so far. All I hope is the best recovery for him, and I'm not even thinking about the success of the Detroit Lions right now. I'm really just thinking, man, this kid was so great. Let's just hope that he could recover and see the best of him yet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this kid was in his second year, I believe. He was a rookie last year, and he dominated as a rookie. He was only getting better this year. And just to see him go down that early in his career, obviously they're saying it's not career ending, so that's a great sign, because that would have stunk if that happened with him in his second year. This kid is dominant. He is like a Micah Parsons type of player, took the league by storm, and I just hope for a speedy recovery for him. And honestly, took me back to when the Cowboys lost Dak Prescott to that broken ankle. It was like kind of like that injury, but obviously a little higher up with his tibia. So I hope that for a speedy recovery. This definitely hurts the Lions, though. I think their defense is going to take a big hit. They won't be able to get as much pressure on quarterbacks. I do still think they'll be able to win because they have so much talent on that defense and so much talent on that offense. And with the way Jared Goff has been playing, I don't see many people beating them in the NFC at least. So it will affect them, but I think they'll still find a way to win without him. But did you have anything else you wanted to say about the Bills getting Amari Cooper, or did you want to call it?
I think I'm good.
All right, bro. What's going on in the sneaker world?
Sneaker world. I mean, we have a lot of drops. We just had this crazy dunk come out today, shock drop. We got which was the what the dunks. It's ridiculous what we're seeing from the Halloween. My goodness, we have a beautiful silhouette of the Air Force One lows, dark like red, black, skull on the toe box, amazing looking shoe. Looks like looks like a Dracula type shoe. Love it. We got this nice looking like Swamp Thing looking dunk low. Love seeing that. And then my personal favorite, we got ourselves a Jason Voorhees Air Force One. You see a pure white Air Force One, just like a regular Air Force One, on the toe box instead of the little breathing holes, right? We have a silhouette of Jason Voorhees' mask on the Air Force One toe box. Love to see those. My personal favorite coming out for the Halloween season. Then you also have the Gins coming out, which if you're a Tekken fan, I mean, of that video game, it's going to be an amazing drop, amazing box set. Definitely look out for those. So the Halloweens come out October 24th. I believe the Gins come out the 28th or something like that, the 30th. We got a Halloween Devin Booker coming out. We've got Ant Pearl 4s coming out in the Kevin Durant line. I mean, I'm telling you right now, October is just getting crazier and crazier. On the 30th, we have what I know of they're not foam posits, but they are the Green Goblin shoe, right? There's some sort of posit. It's sport posit or athlete posit, right? William Dafoe wore these. In Spider-Man 1 when he was the Green Goblin. This is the Green Goblin shoe. Coming out October 30th. I mean, I'm telling you, the amount of heat coming out in the sneaker world is crazy for October. I love what Nike's doing. They keep dropping stuff every day, so keep looking at the app. And I mean, I totally forgot. Yesterday, the Kobe's came out. My goodness. We had the X-Ray Kobe Cultural 5. I think they were 5s. I think, yeah, 5s. They came out. X-Ray, great silhouette. Showed when he broke his foot. Had the skeleton of his foot on the silhouette of the shoe. Dark blue. Loved the look of the shoe. Loved the silhouette. Glows in the dark as well. I mean, like I said, the month of October is very scary in the sneaker world.
Yeah, man, I'll definitely have to check all those drops out. I haven't had much time to look at the app, but I'll definitely have to get all caught up on those, especially the Kobe's. Gotta check out my those Kobe's and see if I should add them to my collection. In the video game world, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 does drop on all consoles at midnight this upcoming Friday, October 25th. I believe it will be on Game Pass for both PC and Xbox as well. So if you are a Game Pass member, you can play it for free once you download it. I know I probably will get the game eventually, maybe not right away, but eventually I will, as I am a very big fan of Call of Duty. From what I've heard, they're making a lot of upgrades. So if you're into Call of Duty, I would definitely suggest checking that out. And yeah, that's all I got for today. Thank y'all for watching. See y'all in the next one.
Hey guys, you already know, go into the comment section. If you guys have any sneakers that you like, if you have any comments about any topics that you want us to discuss or that we have discussed in the past, please go ahead and leave those down below. Look for Nick Say. I'm sure he's still down there somewhere, hiding down there. If you want to give us a thumbs up, give us that like. We appreciate it. If you really want to see us in another podcast, please give us that thumbs up, because we only do another podcast if you guys give us a thumbs up. And then, like two wise men once said, subscribe. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Peace.